Even though the world has collectively acknowledged Pakistan's victory in the 4-day May conflict with India, Indian media appears unable to move on. Instead of reflecting on their own exposed disinformation during the conflict, they are now weaving newer, more elaborate tales built not on facts but on confusion, contradictions, and recycled fear narratives. Let's begin with the most basic claim being repeated yet again, that India's so-called Operation Sindoor flattened terrorist headquarters in Pakistan.
In May 2025, India smashed 9 terror hubs, wiping out Muridke.
But the ongoing reality is enough to counter that. Only a mosque filled with children was destroyed. This wasn't disputed speculation. It was verified by foreign journalists who visited the site the same day. Al Jazeera's Abid Hussain, who visited Muridke, writes, "In Muridke, hours after the missile strike, the low-hanging roof belonged to the administration block of a large compound called the Government Health and Educational Complex. The compound houses a hospital, 2 schools, a hostel, and a large seminary with more than 3,000 students studying at various institutions, including the seminary. The compound also included 80 residences, homes to approximately 300 people, most of whom are government employees." Pakistan has said that 31 civilians, including at least 2 children, were killed. There were no flattened compounds, no command bunkers, no exposed terror infrastructure. What's more troubling is the language being used now. The host claims that Jaish commanders are scrambling after losing their families. Pause there. That is an outright admission that families, as in non-combatants, were harmed. So which is it? Precision counter-terror strikes or civilians and families caught in the crossfire? You cannot claim moral high ground while simultaneously conceding civilian targeting. Then comes the narrative pivot that Pakistan, embarrassed by Operation Sindoor, is conspiring with militant groups to erase humiliation.
It is a desperate attempt to erase the humiliation of Operation Sindoor.
This would have been more convincing if Pakistan had actually been humiliated or hadn't moved on and forward. In the months following the conflict, Pakistan secured multiple diplomatic and defense engagements, particularly in the Gulf. Defense cooperation expanded, high-level delegations arrived, and Pakistan's leadership was perceived at the highest levels internationally. Most notably, Pakistan's Chief of Defense Staff and Prime Minister were hosted at the White House by Donald Trump, who publicly acknowledged Pakistan's performance in the conflict. Trump didn't speak of humiliation. He spoke of resilience. He even referenced the destruction of Indian Rafale jets.
Well, 8 planes were shot down. That war was starting to rage.
This was later acknowledged by a French military commander who confirmed that the Rafale was destroyed because the machine was simply not used properly. Now, these are not Pakistani claims. These are international acknowledgements. Let's talk numbers, because this is where the narrative truly unravels. The host claims Lashkar-e-Taiba dropped from 5,000 to 2,500 members and Jaish-e-Mohammed from 3,000 to 1,500. How exactly did that happen? Indian media itself reported the killing of roughly 100 militants during the operation. Even if one were to accept that figures at face value, it does not mathematically support a reduction of thousands. These numbers are not intelligence. They are improvisation. She then claims that both groups are now collaborating under ISI coordination. This ignores a critical legal reality. Both organizations are officially banned in Pakistan. Their assets are frozen, their activities criminalized, and their public operations dismantled. To claim state coordination while offering no documentary, financial, or operational evidence is not analysis. It's allegations masquerading as expertise. The narrative then widens further, pulling in Hamas.
After Sindoor, those Hamas links have only deepened. Hamas commanders, according to reports, have been moving through Pakistan, appearing at POK rallies, Gujranwala events hosted by Lashkar fronts, and Bahawalpur meetings under ISI cover.
Viewers are told Hamas emissaries are training South Asian militants. Yet, the only documented visits by Hamas figures to Pakistan were diplomatic and politically focused entirely on condemning the slaughter of Palestinians. Pakistan remains one of the few countries that has consistently taken a principled stance against Israel's actions in Gaza. Condemning genocide is not terror coordination, no matter how inconvenient that distinction is for Indian television panels. Bangladesh is dragged into the story next, with vague claims of post-Hasina chaos.
Bangladesh's post-Hasina chaos is opening transit routes.
Opening terror transit routes, again without evidence. But if Bangladesh is part of the conversation, then context matters. It is India that currently provides safe haven to a political figure sentenced to death by Bangladeshi courts for ordering the killing of young protesters. Perhaps the growing anti-India sentiment in Bangladesh isn't chaos, it's accountability. And maybe that discomfort is bleeding into Indian media narratives.
Turkey and Qatar provide hawala and cover.
Turkey and Qatar are also accused of facilitating hawala networks. Serious allegations made without a single fact, document, or international finding to support them. Repeating accusations doesn't make them true. It only exposes the absence of proof. Finally, we must ask the most important question. Why is Indian media still obsessing over Operation Sindoor 7 months later? If the operation was such a decisive success, why were official facts only presented 3 months after the conflict? Why do figures keep changing? Why do claims now contradict what was said during and immediately after the strikes? The more Indian media complicates the story, the more potholes it creates in its own narratives. This is no longer about security analysis, it's about narrative salvage. Instead of reckoning with exposed falsehoods from May, sections of Indian media are attempting to retroactively justify them by inflation threats, inventing alliances, and projecting instability outward. But facts don't bend to studio theatrics. The longer this confusion continues, the clearer it becomes. Operation Sindoor isn't being discussed because it succeeded. It's being discussed because the story around it never held. And if Pakistan were truly hiding something, its response would look very different. Pakistan has openly and confidently asked India to conduct a transparent, independent investigation into its claims of Pakistani involvement in the Pahalgam attacks, an offer India has conspicuously refused to take up. If the evidence is so overwhelming, why avoid scrutiny? Adding to the unease, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been notably absent from several key international appearances in recent months. So the question must be asked. If India's case is as strong as the media claims, why is there no evidence?